In a country built on dreams, there is one group that has turned the American dream into a science. They are not just slightly ahead, not by 5%, not by 10%, but by nearly 20%, crushing every other ethnic group in income, education, and success. How did immigrants from a developing nation, many arriving with nothing but a suitcase and ambition, rise to the very top of the American ladder? This is the story of Indian Americans, a community that is rewriting the definition of success. The numbers are mind-boggling. According to the latest U.S. Census data, Indian American households now have a median annual income of $151,200, the highest of any ethnic group in the country. That's nearly $70,000 more than the U.S. median of $80,610, and even higher than white households, which average around $85,000. Indian immigrant-headed households earn even more, a staggering $156,000 per year on average. Taiwanese Americans come second at $95,000, Chinese third, Japanese fourth. But Indians are far ahead of them all. It's not a small lead. It's a generational gap in wealth creation. And here's the part that shocks economists. Indian Americans make up only about 1.5% of the U.S. population, but since 2018, they have founded 72 unicorn startups, more than 20% of all immigrant-founded unicorns in the U.S., with a combined valuation of $195 billion. They're not just participating in the American economy, they're shaping it. While roughly 12% of all Americans live below the poverty line, only 6% of Indian Americans do. The lowest poverty rate among major immigrant groups. They are climbing faster, falling less, and staying ahead. But why? What is the secret? What makes them so different? Start with education. If success had a religion, Indian parents would call it education. In 2021, 81% of Indian immigrants over the age of 25 had at least a bachelor's degree. Compare that with just 33% of all U.S.-born adults. Even more shocking, 49% of Indian immigrants hold graduate or professional degrees, nearly 4 times the U.S. average. And it's not just about getting any degree, it's about getting the right degree. Indian families treat STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, like sacred ground. Over a third major in engineering, another third in math or computer science, followed by business and management degrees. They are intentional or just strategic about education. This isn't trial and error. This is planned, precise, and purpose-driven. Their majors translate directly into high-paying careers. Look at occupational data. 79% of Indian immigrants work in management, business, science, or arts occupations, nearly double the U.S. average. Only 5% work in service occupations, compared to 15% of U.S.-born citizens. Only 1% work in construction or maintenance. This focus on high-value careers explains why Indian immigrants dominate in sectors like tech, medicine, and research. It's why they rise to the top of corporations, and even to the very top of America's largest companies. The list of Indian-origin CEOs reads like a who's who of global business. Satya Nadella at Microsoft, Sundar Pichai at Google, Shantanu Narayan at Adobe, Arvind Krishna at IBM, and in the startup world, Jay Chaudhry of Scholar, Vinod Khosla, co-founder of Sun Microsystems, Ramesh Wadhwani, Rakesh Gangwal, Anil Bhusri, billionaires who started with little and built empires. But there's another layer to this success story. Who gets to come to America in the first place? Since 1965, after the U.S. Immigration and Nationality Act removed discriminatory quotas, America started prioritizing skilled labor. H-1B visas became a magnet for India's top talent. Engineers, doctors, scientists, people with advanced degrees and specialized skills. This created what economists call a self-selection effect. The average Indian who migrates is not an average Indian. They are often the most ambitious, most educated, and most driven individuals of their generation. But this selection bias doesn't guarantee success. It just opens the door. What happens next depends entirely on what those immigrants do with the opportunity, and that's where Indian culture takes over. Indian culture is built around family. Not just the nuclear family, but the entire ecosystem of parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins. They live together, save together, build together. It's common for multiple Indian families to share a home while building a business, pooling money to reinvest rather than splurge. This is the power of delayed gratification, sacrificing short-term pleasure for long-term gain. And it shows in their personal lives too. Indian Americans have the lowest divorce rates in the country, between 1.3% and 6% depending on the study, compared to 40% of Americans overall. Marriage in Indian culture is seen not just as love, but as partnership, a union that builds wealth, stability, and a strong foundation for the next generation. Indian parenting is a masterclass in intentionality. Kinship. They teach children to stay connected to relatives and community, building a support system for life. Self-sacrifice. Parents willingly put their own dreams aside to invest in their children's future. Trust plus involvement. Parents are deeply involved. They spend time. They watch closely. They guide decisions. Nurturing talent. They identify each child's strengths early and encourage excellence. Inquisitiveness. They ask questions, set boundaries, and don't simply let society raise their kids. Culture and values. They pass down traditions, respect for elders, and religious tolerance, teaching children to honor diversity while staying rooted in their identity. Judgment. Yes, they judge. And that judgment keeps children away from destructive paths. Multitasking. Indian parents balance work and parenting with a level of discipline that turns homes into incubators of resilience. All of this, education, career strategy, family cohesion, delayed gratification, feeds into one central theme: discipline with a vision. Indian immigrants are not winging it. They are intentional about where they live, what they study, what jobs they take, how they save, how they raise their kids. They are building something bigger than themselves, a legacy. And this isn't just about Indians succeeding in America. This success benefits everyone. Indian-founded companies employ over 500,000 people in the U.S. and generate over $100 billion in annual revenue. Their rise lifts not just their own families, but the entire economy. This is more than just an immigrant success story. This is India's story, proof that her discipline, her values, and her vision still work, even in a world that sometimes feels broken, cynical, and unfair. It is proof that India's spirit cannot be contained, that no matter where her children go, they carry with them the strength of a civilization that has stood tall for thousands of years. This is not just about success abroad. This is about India proving, again, that her greatest export is her people. People who take the light of knowledge, resilience, and hard work wherever they go and turn it into innovation, influence, and impact. It's a reminder that the rules of success haven't changed. Work hard, stay humble, keep your family close, and never stop learning. Values India has lived by for generations. So the question is this: if India, a country where the average income was once just $6 a day, can raise a community that becomes the most successful ethnic group in the world in a single generation, what excuse does anyone else have? What excuse do we have, as a nation, to not dream bigger, to not work harder, to not build a future worthy of India's potential? Because if India's children can conquer the world starting from scratch, imagine what 1.4 billion of us can build here, together. Not someday, but today.